Hey, Father George here again with a few Sunday thoughts on the readings from the 12th Sunday of Ordinary Time. There's always, for mariners, there's always been the stories throughout history of these giant waves that just rose out of the ocean, out of the blue, and just, swallowed up ships alike. Of course, nobody ever survived. And so they were always just, tales and with no proof. But about 24 years ago, British scientific vessel Discovery got caught in a North Sea storm that it couldn't quite get out of it, and it was recording big waves, and of course they're set up to record stuff. But they recorded suddenly this 90-foot giant would rise out, and so now they finally had data, and now the scientific community turned their down-looking satellites, and they're able to spot. You know what? There's a lot more rogue waves out there, these sort of freaks of nature that are out there. Is this unseen power that's in the oceans. I remember back when I was a youngster at Annapolis and was out sailing on the Annapolis roads, and I heard a freight train. Fortunately, I was with someone who's a pretty experienced sailor. He goes, "Hey, we just turned up, pointing to the Severn River, dropped the sails, batting which hatch there was, and you could just look, and there was this freight train of this black line moving right down the Severn River, and it was what's called a line squall. And in the moment, the world went dark. You were disoriented. It was dangerous. It was like riding a bucking bronco, and that was in daylight when you could see it coming and take preparations. Although I knew of this when I was at the Sea of Galilee on a pilgrimage, I got to the Sea of Galilee and looked to the southwest. He goes, "Yep, there's exactly that notch the scriptures talked about." On the other side of that is the dry lands, and just occasionally the winds will get funneled through this notch, and suddenly the Sea of Galilee, which is really just a big lake, will suddenly become this place of this horror show of waves and winds. In the gospel story, these disciples, they're experienced watermen. I mean, they fish, and fishing at night, pretty normal kind of thing, for catching fish and avoiding taxes and all the rest of the stuff. And so they're out there at night, and it's not their first rodeo on the waters, but there's something different about this storm. And the sort of calm lake suddenly becomes the deep waters of chaos. Jesus is there in the stern, asleep, and the disciples, experienced watermen all, they are terrified. And of course, Jesus, hey, don't you care that we're perishing? In our life, storms, maelstroms, things that don't go right, it's not our first rodeo either. And there's certain events that are sort of extra bad. In fact, there's some, that we're honest with ourselves, that are just so much we wonder, God, Jesus, don't you care? Do you even notice? And and we'll pray, but God just sort of seems distant and detached. It's those moments, when the cancer that was in remission for so long suddenly comes back. There's something going on with the life of our kids, and suddenly they're a risk we never saw coming. Maybe it's our parents. Alzheimer's is starting to steal the memories of our loved ones, and you just sort of feel like, and especially if it all happens at once, it's like our life is taking on water. This thing is about to capsize. And where are you, God? And almost in our prayer, the silence almost screams back, and we're out of sorts. We talk, we grumble, but we're like the disciples. We've got our own experience, but there's something especially bad about this. And the thing is, faith is no guarantee of calm waters. So it's a little bit of, I imagine I'd be a little annoyed if I were the disciples and Jesus kind of goes, "Why are you terrified? Where's your faith?" I think very honestly, my response would be, excuse me, why are we terrified? What's our faith? Look, I'm scared, I'm upset, I am hanging on here by a thread, but you know what? I'm still in the boat. I am in the boat. And I know that even when I don't think you're there, I trust that you are there, that you're in this boat with us. So if that's my faith, as thin as it is, okay, I'm terrified, but I am working on it. And that's the thing about the experience of life, the experience of being with others in the boat, the experience of the time God answers our prayers and the times when we're too panicked, bailing out the boat to know that God is answering. But all of this prepares us for those moments that we know that, to batten the hatches, to drop the sails, point up into the storm and ride it out. Because those are the moments where, the theological concepts aside, we are people that live the faith. And we take our life in those moments and we point up to Jesus and we simply ride it out. Faith doesn't guarantee the calm. Faith tells us the direction to point. And when the storms of your life come, may you always point up to Jesus and trust that he's always there as you stay in the boat. Amen.